And so you try to leave the world better than how you found it. And my way is doing it through my stories and Dork. And any artwork that I try to make now is trying to make somebody smile or go, ooh, cool, in some way. Like some people, it's not going to work because it's subjective, right? You can't make everybody happy. But that's what I think most people are doing. Most creatives I know are trying to balance out being able to feed their family and do the thing that they love, but also make something cool. And it's like, yeah, go out there and try to do it.
Welcome back to Direct Edition. I am your host, Dave. Yes, the lovable Dave is back with another interview. And today I just call myself lovable. I've got Brett Bean. He's an amazing cartoonist that has worked in animation, video games for Jim Henson, but is currently doing his own creator-owned book with Image Comics that is blowing up everywhere. And that is Dork. Yes, Dork. It is a very fascinating thing to see, and me and Brett get to talk about it, how this book is not just winning the hearts of readers, but it's also doing something crazy in the speculation market, and it's already going into a fourth printing, when the second printing of the first issue hasn't even come out yet. It kicked off this weird trend where these new #1 issues are selling out at stores and causing people to go a little bit crazy about it, but that's really not at the heart of what we talk about, although we do touch on it. What I like to talk about is how good the book is. It's a over the top in its gore and violence, a fantasy book that has so many elements of comedy in it. And it's one of the things I appreciate the most about it is the amount of times that I've laughed in the first issue and then into the second issue, which I think comics at the heart should try and do that. That's, comics were born from humor, the strips, the funnies, etc. But Brett's a little bit of a journeyman, and I mean that in the actual sense of living in a lot of different places in this country and around the world, going in and out of different mediums that he worked in, whether it's the movies or TV, video games, children's books, and also in comics, obviously, with certain things like Dork or I Hate Fairyland or the upcoming Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I'll also say this, that I had a really enjoyable time getting a little bit deeper with Brett, as he has a background in psychology and education as well. So I think you're going to find this interview enjoyable on so many levels, whether you're just a person that has no vested interest in comics, but you want to hear a great conversation, or you're somebody that's into comics and doesn't know what the fuss of this book is all about and where it came from at the heart of it for Brett. So I want to say thank you to Brett for his time. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and all that good stuff. But I'll remind you during the interview and at the end, you can really help me grow this podcast. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to get dorky with Brett Bean. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I have a great guest, a special guest who's got a book that I'm actually in love with right now. Somebody who has been in and out of so many different industries, leaving his mark, working in places like the Jim Henson Studios Creature Shop, kids books like Zoo Patrol Squad and Muck and Honey, comics like Rocket and Groot, I Hate Fairyland. He's got a brand new book from Image Comics called Dork. And as much as I would love to say he's Rowan Atkinson, he's still Mr. Bean. And I'm talking to Brett Bean.
Hey,
Brett, how are you?
I'm good, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I can call you Mr. Bean.
Absolutely. I used to have my students do it, and I used to kind of do a little routine and everything. I love Mr. Bean. Rowan Atkinson doesn't pay me anything for the royalties off of my name, but I'm the original, so I'll take it.
That's right. I want to say, first of all, congratulations on the success on Dork. I mean, issue 2 is coming out. It'll be out when this podcast has aired, but I read it yesterday. It's on the wall here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I gotta say, the fun keeps coming. Like 2 issues in, and the fun is I had as much fun reading issue 2 as I did issue 1.
That actually is a very nice relief for me. Just because the #1 got so much hype, and it's a combination of real fandom and speculation and like
Mhm.
all that sort of in the middle
Perfect
spot.
storm.
Yeah, that perfect storm. But you go, oh my God, did I not? Am I going to poop the bed? You know what I mean? I'm already on issue 6. So I'm like, well, whether I did a good job or not, it's over and done with. So we'll see if people like it. So the fact that at least one person accepts issue 2, I appreciate that, Dave.
Well, I mean, and for my listeners, like we met last year at Tokyo Comic Con. You're friends with the Ink Pulp crew, and you did this amazing Darth Jar Jar sketch for me in your book. And when I started flipping through your book and looking at your all the stuff that you brought to con, your art to me was it gave me a familiar feeling. And I'm assuming it's because working in the Henson, in that workshop and working with Scotty and having a very animated background, like I could look at your art and I've seen some of your kids' books and stuff like that, and it all feels instinctively familiar to me. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I'll take that as a win. Yeah, yeah. I think once you work in production and you
Hmm.
start working for these big studios, you have to adjust. You have to do micro and macro adjustments all the time. And so a lot of that stuff is like an amalgamation of like 20 years of the video games I've made and the TV shows and the films and stuff. Just kind of and then you get turned on yourself and then you go, now find what you want to say and how you want to say
Yeah.
it. And it's usually an amalgamation of all those things. So
Right, right.
yeah.
And your storytelling and Dork, the thing that really stands out to me and rereading the first issue before I read the second is, I mean, you have a joke in almost every panel. Like your sense of humor is fully on display on this book. And, this book wouldn't work without humor. It would be really, really dark.
Yeah, it would definitely be a different book. It would definitely wouldn't be my book. And I don't think it would hold as a fan of comics, it wouldn't hold my expectations of what I
Hmm.
would keep reading without the humor sort of breakup. But I think that that's real life. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things happen in our lives, right? If you're young enough and nothing has happened to you, nothing's been taken away, great job. Hold on to that feeling. But life takes things away from you as you age, right? You get more things, but things get taken away.
Hmm.
And finding the humor in real life and that tragedy and that's all the life balance that makes you feel like you're actually living a full life. And so I think it's necessary for me, especially in the stories that I tell, that there's a little bit of all of that because
Hmm.
that's how I view life. That's what happens. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not too far apart in age. And I agree with you. It's like we lose things, but then it gives us a greater appreciation when we lose something of how we had it and how it was part of our lives. When I see somebody pass away that maybe was a musician or somebody in my family also, but looking at it in the perspective of art, when I see somebody pass away and people get all upset and I'm like, yeah, it's upset, but let's be thankful for the 20 or 40 or 50 or however many
Oh yeah.
years that we got to appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, appreciation for somebody who made it all the way through their life or
Hmm.
somebody cut short as well. Like there's
Yeah.
another whole appreciation for somebody that had so much potential and things were taken away from them either by their own fault or by just life happening. And it's a really good reminder of how precious it all is and we're just on this floating rock hurtling through space and time and you got to make it worth it for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the people's creations that came before us is what inspires us to want to do the thing that is sitting in our head and
Oh yeah.
need to get it out. And you had the first 5 issues of Dork done by the end of last year, right?
I was
Or close.
through. I was first 4 issues, and number 5 I just finished up this last month, and I'm
Hmm.
working on 6 now. But yeah, for the first 4 issues, I had at least the first 3 completely done in the bag. Going, this is what it's going to be, whether it passes or fails. I can make it to at least 5 to 10 and lose money, and then at 10 I'll back out. And that's what I told my wife. It's like, let me get to 10, even if we lose money. I've got enough things I can sell to get us to
Sure.
10 and then go, great, I did my thing. Dork had his day and then we can bounce. And then daddy can go get a new career and make sure that you can still have, food on the table, kids. So yeah, that was always the plan. So it was just going to like keep on trucking through the entire process. But now,
Yeah.
now it opens up. it's a different feeling because at 50, all I've done is pivot and try to like, what do I have to do now? Okay, what do I have to do now? What do I have to do now? But it's a unique opportunity to pause and go, you can make choices for yourself right now. Like this hopefully is going to be important enough to enough people, right? Because you don't want to talk about money, but you want it to be just important enough that you get to keep making decisions based off of where you think you should go instead of where's money. I need to make sure the kids have, food for the night and a roof over my head. It's a luxury and a very low percentage of people that can then go take a breath. Are enough people going to like this? Now you can do something on purpose. And I don't take that lightly. I'm very grateful that hopefully that will continue to happen for me. So it's pretty amazing.
I think it will. And for my part in my audience, I get asked, I have 2 different channels, but I get asked a lot about like when something blows up or something pops off, like, Dave, what do you think about it? And, I said to people, and I said it for the last 3 weeks, like, this is a fun book. And I have no clue why the speculation part of it started. But my answer to when people ask me was, look at it. Like, look at it and imagine if you're a speculator. I see something that could easily end up being like a movie or a TV show or something. I know that's not why you created it, but that was my only thought. But I kept saying to people, like, this is a fun book. I had a blast reading it. And right now, in 2026, if you talk to any comic store owners over the last year, like, certain books have caused people to walk into shops as readers. And that is a very important thing. We're not looking at speculation on, Dork's going to show up in the MCU. It's people are enjoying reading books now. Thank fucking God.
That is probably the highest praise I could have because it's healthier for everybody. I remember going in with my paper route money and my mom would have to drop me off. I'd bitch and complain to her until she, fine, okay, drop me off for an hour while she went grocery shopping. And I would just have my money, walk around getting my comics. And the fact that maybe 1 or 2 people will go in because they go, I want to read Dork, and starts that same journey that I felt back then. I don't take that lightly. That's really amazing because that's in some small way of like, my art and my craft and my story is doing the same thing that those creators did for me in the 80s. I didn't think that was possible. And that's amazing to be a part of it. So it's really important. And it was important to me growing up to have a safe space that I felt connected to somebody other than myself and my family and, to a greater, bigger collection of people. Cause then you start meeting other people who like Conan and liked Rom, and you met other kids at school. You're like, you like this too. Good. And so it all feeds the rest of your life, not just in comics, but it just outwards as you grow as a person too. So it's an amazing experience to kind of just be one small part of it. So, and more comics it's healthier for everybody.
Yeah. I
mean, I think people into comics is good.
Yeah. And I think people forget that Image has kind of a track record of this in a good way. I mean, sure, Brian K. Vaughan was a big comic writer when he released Saga, but Saga made him a whole new, group of fans that never read comics before. Yeah. And that book came out, and, I bought it when it came out because I knew Vaughn. It went into 5 or 6 or 7 printings because of that same reason. Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, he's no stranger to that too. And he did it twice with Invincible and Walking Dead. So, I'm excited to see where this goes for you. And I'm excited for more people to get the second print and the third print, because I think the third print was just announced today, or fourth.
Fourth print was announced today. Third print's already done. So we're on fourth print now.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, because I come from Hollywood and TV, like people say congrats, and I go, I have no frame of reference. I don't know how I'm doing. I know I'm still stepping on Legos and making sandwiches for my kids. So nothing has really changed for me. But apparently the perception of it has changed, and people say congratulations, and I go, I don't know what for. I'm sitting there just trying to beat my deadlines. I'm just trying to make sure my deadlines don't crush me and my shoulders, and then also take them to school, So that's as good as I can possibly make it. And
Yeah. And, I'm sure, I've never been in that position. But I
Neither
think
have I.
maybe at some, right. At some point, I hope you can, maybe it'll be like 6 or 7 months from now, you'll walk into a Barnes and Noble and you'll see the Dork trade. I think it comes out in August. I think the FOC on it's already there. And you're like, oh, okay.
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. I know that I walked around. I've been going to San Diego Comic-Con for
Mm-hmm.
30, 40 years. And I do remember seeing the big pictures of like Hellboy and seeing the big
Yeah.
pictures of Conan and stuff. And my brain would go, you're never going to be there, but wouldn't that be cool?
Right.
And then you just walk because you're like, you're not in charge of that, right? That's
Yeah.
not something that is something you can do on your own. So you just kind of go, that would have been nice. That would be cool. All right. And then you move on. Right. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. I hope that one day there'll be something where it kind of snaps me into place of going, oh, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me just sitting down in my office drawing all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hoping a little bit of that comes with the convention. I haven't been to a convention yet. So I think a little bit of that will be like, okay, if I have more than 5 people at my booth, nothing humbles you more than when you're put in between Ryan Otley and Frank Miller and nobody cares to be in your line, and you see Ryan's around the corner and you see Frank's around the corner, and then you have yours in the middle going, yep, this is called paying your dues. This is called paying your dues, right? So if I have more than 5 people, I think I'm going to feel successful just at any convention going, finally, all right, 5 people. This is amazing.
Well, there's the right now. I'd like to just speak directly to the audience. I want 250 people online before he gets to his table.
Not going to happen, but 5 is what we're looking for. We're going to hit the nice 5. I can only count on one hand, so that's what
Sure. Well, going into the story, because like you've built a world for this. It's evident when you open up the first issue and the second issue, and there's the map of it's Sunderine, and then you've got all the different territories, and you've got the Scar. But how long did you work on just kind of building out the backstory before you even went in, or did you just kind of go in and build the backstory as you were writing the first couple issues?
It's twofold. So part of it is you're thinking about the big beats. So I'm a big beat guy compared to the myopic, like little tiny nuances. So I would do that. I did that while I was working on I Hate Fairyland and doing what I was working in TV and film. I just kind of like jot notes and stuff down. So I had these big portions that I knew where they were on the map and what they were going to be about. And then the rest of it sort of came as I went. So it's a twofold system in the same way that I write comics. Like I change as I go. So I have all the scripts written out, but then as I'm working on issue 6, I'm like, oh, this needs to be explained better or in a different way. So I'll be editing all the way up to the last possible second before I send it off to Nate too. So it's the big picture, and then I let the small things happen because I find that feels like my entire career, which is I call controlled chaos.
Yeah.
So you want to know where you're going to go, just like an improv, right? You know where the scene needs to end and you know where it begins. And then the chaos is in between getting there, but you have your main beats. And it's the same way that I write, same way I draw, and the same way I create. Because if you were a producer in Hollywood and you said, Brett, today you're going to work on, I Need a Boy, and he's going to be about 12 years old and he's got this, this, and this. Oh yes. And he's got a unicorn horn coming out of the top of his head. Go. Like, okay, there's my start, but the rest of it is improv. I didn't wake up thinking this is what I was going to work on today. And then your job is to find the muse, put on your big boy pants, and then just do the work. And then you know where it's supposed to end is how somebody's supposed to feel about this character. Then everything it's controlled chaos, and that's how I operate everything from the big story to the small parts.
And I guess this has, you have ultimate control over it. So, that probably feels real good instead of working for somebody else. You're like, this is my character. This is my land. So if I change something that I maybe had a different opinion on 6 months ago, you're not going to be mad at anybody, but, you're going to be happy with yourself.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I also get mad at myself too.
Yeah.
That also happens where I'm like, oh, I need to retcon, or I need to change this, or I need to do something with this, or this is too much, or no matter what. That's the great thing about art. It's subjective and it's not
Hmm.
perfect. So you just make adjustments as you go. And I would hope that things that happen, it's like anybody, if you look at issue 1 and then you look at
Hmm.
issue 10, their shorthand gets stronger, they go a
Yeah.
little bit faster. Things change because they find a system within the making of it. To compare to a movie where you don't see all that behind the scenes work. You just see
No.
the finished film after 6 to 8 years of all of that manipulation, right? But in comics, that you're seeing it live,
Yeah.
and you're just seeing that progress, and the decision changes as they go. So yeah, it's an interesting process. It's new, and I love it because it's also mine. Nobody can tell me, and so yeah, so it's a different beast. Now
That's
it's tough, and now it's me like, oh, now I have to be controlled again is going to be a tough sell.
well, the good thing is about it being your own and the way that you create, draw, and storytell. It's like, it's over the top violence. You can go pretty much as far as you want with it. And you have. I mean, that first issue, with the chicken and, all that. Like that just made, I mean, like I said, there's almost a joke in every panel. I was laughing through the first issue. The second issue was definitely more storytelling and exploration of certain themes, death being one of them, which
Mhm.
I loved. And I laughed my ass off in that issue too. So the main character, the title character, Dork, who's it's half light dwarf and half dark orc,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Where does the idea come from? Like, where can you take me through, like, when this came to you?
Um, so I had to reverse engineer because it's so that everybody says write what you know, and I was like, well, I don't want to write about me. I don't want to write about my themes, and I don't want it to be about this is Brett Bean's book and about me. So I had to reverse engineer what I found interesting about life in general and what I believed.
Hmm.
And being the youngest and seeing extremes in my family, knowing who I was in school, where I wasn't a part of any group, but I understood the nerds, the jocks, all these different groups, right? That aren't as so far as stereotypical like in an 80s film, but there are different cliques and different groups, right?
Oh yeah.
And I never filled like I was a piece. I had a foot in each one of them, but I wasn't a part of any of them. And so when you feel out of place, that felt like a good place to start. I can talk about that. I can write a story based off of a character that feels out of place. And even in our world now, where we have all these extremes all the time now with the internet and people's opinions and everything, they're still just opinions, but they're
Yeah.
so extremes that you're like, there's something there that I can write to and understand, and I don't have to fake write. I don't have to fake a point of view on this. And so I reverse engineered that. And then I started to think about, well, I don't want it to be now because I don't want it to be about that because then people are
Hmm.
going to make correlations. I want to make something that's interesting. Oh, I love Conan. I love Lord of the Rings. Oh, okay, let's go that route. Oh, let's go that way. And it's like, oh, I don't really want to draw buildings either. Perfect. Okay, let's go medieval. And so each one of these things build. And then I go, okay, now I need a character that feels out of place. And that was the hardest part, was to come up with the hook for myself and go, what's going to make me come back, sit at the table month in and month out, think about this character every day and night. Because I don't think people realize, like, you are thinking about you're thinking about your characters, how they talk to themselves, how they react, storyline beats, what you want to explore all the time. So it needs to be solid in your mind before it can be solid in somebody else's mind.
Hmm.
So I had to sell myself on the idea first.
Mm.
And that took the longest, is to find the character. But then once I put, and of course I'm a dad too, so the pun also works in self. So I was like, oh, dwarf, orc, dork. Holy crap. Okay, I'm done. Now I just need to start to build out from there. And that was the Oedipus, and like how I kind of came about the whole character idea.
That's interesting because I interviewed a lot of people and I don't think I've ever had anybody really externalize how and why they created a character and
Oh, okay.
in that way. I mean, a lot of people maybe they can't access that part of what they want to say about it being what you just said, you know?
I think that's the teacher in me as well. I also
Mm-hmm.
minored in psychology, but I think a
That's
good
right.
I'm not saying I'm a good teacher, but what I emulated from the teachers that I thought were really great is their ability to dissect the thought process
Mm-hmm.
behind what they were trying to tell you. So they'd show you, and that's where I think a lot of artists get tripped up. They show and they go, just do it like this. You're like, well, that's not teaching. That's just show and tell.
Yeah.
Teaching is breaking down, saying, this is why I made this decision. This is why I changed this line to match this line, is the reasoning behind it. And I always gravitated towards those sort of teachers. And so I think I naturally try to at least explain it in a way that is comparable, I guess, that you can
Right.
understand, comprehend. So,
Right. Plus, studying of the mind,
yeah,
psychology, that also helps to
yes, it does.
explain things. So growing up, I know you've moved around a lot. But did you grow up in Washington? Because that's where I am. You went to Puget Sound High School. Is that what I heard?
I went to Issaquah High School. So I went
Issaquah.
to John Rogers way back in the day in Seattle. And then we moved to Issaquah. So I went to Issaquah High. And that's kind of where I was born and raised, and did not feel necessarily connected to the environment, to the people. Yeah. And so that was kind of the beginning stages of like, I don't really feel connected to either the church my parents went to, all the way up into the people that I was forced to interact with, let alone the people I wanted to interact and could only do it at school. And I wasn't allowed over to their house because they weren't religious. So it was hard balance to try to find the friends that you wanted but couldn't have. And then, but got by, go behind the back and be friends with them at lunchtime and stuff like that. So it's all part of like who you end up being, right? It's the soup that makes you an individual. So,
do you remember, or, like some of your first influences, whether they be in the comics zone or in movies? Because I mean, your storytelling is a mix of both, a beautiful mix of both.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would say that Jim Henson, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, all those 80s and 90s, like all that stuff coming up, like that was all like the meat and potatoes of most of my stuff that I really grew up with and played with all the toys and did all those kind of things. Comics were sort of like kids' comics. My mom, she didn't really get me into comics. The ones that she would buy were like the safe, like DuckTales and the stuff. And so by that time when I was really trying to find my own thing that I liked, those were too much on the kids' side. And it was things that my mom liked. And so instinctively you go, well, I'm not going to like what you like. I mean, now I do, but at the time you don't, right?
You rebel.
And then, yeah. And I would find myself, I remember skipping school and going to Circle K in Seattle with money and buying my first Savage Dragon and ROM comics. And then I played Ikari Warriors like all day. And then I went home like I was the coolest person on the planet until the police pulled me over because I had an APB for me because I was missing from school.
Shit.
But that was like the first time where I'm like, oh, and so I hid the comics in my bag, went upstairs, read them. And that sort of started to open up my idea to adult comics, to adult things. And then when Ninja Turtles came out, I got the first printing of that. So each one of these things, when I found Heavy Metal magazine, and then you start seeing like boobies and like things that are even adult, like you start to go like, oh, there's more space than just this, what I thought comics were. And so the combination of these movies, Aliens, Predator, Terminator, the Dark Horse comic series with all of those in it, right? All of those things all lead to the next thing and the next thing. But I had to all do it secretly. I had to all do it like behind the back of everybody. So it was my thing. And I think that that's also something that I think has been taken away from a lot of kids. That sort of like go in and let them screw up and find out on their own helps create self. And I think that that's very strong in me. And I hope I try to do that for my kids on purpose now, to not and let them sort of do that and find that thing that they like. My son's just getting into Warhammer. Cool. And I just kind of walk through because we have a store and I just like, oh, let's just walk in here. I don't say anything. I don't mess around. I just kind of look at the wall and then I let him sort of drift away, and all of a sudden he's got a book and he's reading this and he's reading Dungeon Crawler Carl and he's doing all this crazy stuff. And I go, that's where you should be. You should find out your groove, your way,
Yeah.
and that creates a stronger sense of self in this world that I think we all need.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have that shelteredness. Like, you can't look at this when I was a kid. It was kind of what you're doing with your kids now. Like, my dad took me to go see RoboCop. My dad took me to go see Predator. Like, I got to see all of the things to decide where my taste would go. And there was stuff they didn't want me to see, like Aliens. My mom said it was too scary, and so she wouldn't let me watch it. And then when I did, I was like, oh yeah.
But you were probably at the right age, like, and that's what I have with my son. At any time, if something's too scary, you just say it and we turn it off. So it was like, there's no harm in any of that. You should never feel guilty about like, this is too much for me. I don't even remember what we were watching the other day. Oh, we were playing a video game, and then my youngest just is like. And he starts doing this, like the sit back. And I said, is this too much? And he's like, yeah, this is too much. I'm like, perfect. Turn off. Boom. Instant. So yeah, you have to be mentally aware of your children, what they can handle, what they can do, and how mature or immature they are in what arenas, right? Because usually kids will rise up in one area and be a little bit lower in another. And then you just kind of gauge each child. They're all individuals. So
yeah, that's such a brilliant way of really talking about it, though, because my mom was right, because Gremlins was the first movie that gave me nightmares. And, I saw it just a little too young, and Stripe really messed me up,
Yeah, his chainsaw going around trying to kill Billy. Oh my God, man. And then he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. And,
And
it's because of that balance, because Gizmo's so cute. So the polar opposite of Gizmo is the most disgusting looking thing.
For sure.
So she, mom was right. I want to touch on something. Speaking of Washington, and Dungeon Crawler Carl, you're set to be doing the comic adaptation of Matt Dinnaman's Dungeon Crawler Carl, who he is from Bremerton. He's from just over the water from me.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Now I will say it's not an adaptation. It's an expansion.
Oh, okay.
So they already have an adaptation. Vault Comics is doing one. It's the webtoon version. They're going to be doing it in real print. So that's of the original book. So the one that we're doing is actually an expansion from another crawler's point of view. So it's all new story from another. So it is a new story. It's not the same one that people, if they were to get into this one, it's called Dungeon Crawler Carl the Crocodile. So it's from this character's point of view through the entire, going through all of the crawl. So
it's so funny because I haven't read any of the Dungeon Crawler books because I only just kind of like it came into my orbit. But when I was at Emerald City this week, I picked up his new book. What is it? Bouncing House.
The Bounce. Yeah. The Bounce House. Are you talking about like the latest book?
Yeah, I picked that up because they told me I could read that without starting at the beginning. But should I start at the beginning?
Start at the beginning.
Okay, so I'll pick up the first book.
Start at the beginning. If you're an audio book person, the audiobooks are really phenomenally well done.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, so I do Audible, and because I don't have the time to read all my comics, read all the stories, and make all of these stories, that the audiobooks have kind of saved my life into doing all of that. So if you're somebody who's also a little bit busy and consuming as much as you can, the audiobooks really help out where you can kind of do twofer. My problem is I get so invested that I stop what I'm doing and then
and you just listen.
Go, oh crap! I need to go back. I missed that part. But they're really good. Also, it doesn't hurt that Matt Dinnaman is a very nice, good person as well.
That's what I've heard.
When you can invest in somebody who I think is a positive, good influence and they are successful, it's like a win-win, right? I always love that because there's enough jerks in the world that win. And that it always kind of sits in my craw a little bit when those people win. And to know that Matt's a good person and it's well-deserved success, it just makes it more sweeter that I can invest in that person. You know what I mean? So Matt's a good guy. So
yeah, it's like I said, it came into my orbit, and it's funny because it came into my orbit because one of my buddies who used to be in a punk band, and a name I can't say because it would be very offensive to say the name of that band, but exactly. He's I'll just say it's Sock and the something. Matt used to go see them play because it's all local to this area. And he was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, he's this writer, he wrote this series. And then I started looking into it. I'm like, oh, this is a massively popular series with the people that like us, nerds.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
And that's why I tried to warn a lot of comic book people, because they stay in their own bubble, and a lot of people they stay in their lane. And I float in and out of all of these because I've done video games and TV and film. And I kept trying to tell him, I was like, you don't understand. Like 4 of his books were on the New York Times bestseller at the same time. I know
That's
that
crazy.
you guys just want to talk about absolute Batman, but there are things happening in the rest of the world that are huge and you have no idea about. Yeah, it was very funny to try to pitch Dungeon Crawler Carl to my fellow comic book people and say, like, this is coming, and it's going to be bigger than you realize. So maybe you should invest in understanding it a little bit more now instead of just the things that you already like. And I think they could like it because it fits within the video game, TV, film. All of it is like, we're an amalgamation now.
Oh yeah.
How you get your product out is different, like your choice of media, but we're all telling the same type of stories now. It's all an amalgamation. So it's like, how do you get it out?
And it's funny because we talking about your influences, we talk about Spielberg, and we can talk about Lucas, and these are all people that I love. All of their inspiration came from, or not all of it, but most of it came from comics. They all cite these, like some will cite the EC stuff, some will cite the 1963 early Marvel stuff. I mean, we look at, if you go back and watch half of the 80s movies we grew up watching, comics are in a lot of those scenes. Goonies,
for sure.
And, so anybody who would poo-poo reading a book or a movie or doesn't expand their horizons and stays in comics, it is kind of solitary and boring that way.
Yes. I think the more that you take in, the more it can expand. And that's the same thing with just the planet itself too. If all you do is stay in that little tiny bubble, you're going to stay in that bubble and you're going to be fine. But if you start expanding, you start going to new places, new location, meet new people, it's nothing but a positive experience for me, is because it just grows you as a human being. And that in turn grows you, mentally and creatively as well. So all of it helps. So
yeah. Speaking of going to new places, was your Japan trip, was that the first time you were there last year, or had you been there before?
I'd been there one other time. I'd been to Osaka one, just a little bit time before. So it was 2 Japanese trips in 1 year. It was a lot. But yeah, so I fell in love with it and I liked it. And then they said, like, hey, do you want to do this one? And I said, like, yeah, of course, because again, it's culturally the opposite of my world. And you learn a little bit more. You learn about yourself and you learn about a new culture and you learn about how other people do things. And that does nothing but make me happy. It just expands my sense of self is diminished. And I don't mean that in a negative. It puts you in perspective of how big the world is and how important we all are to each other, and how we all kind of want the same global, like 5 or 6 things. Everybody's just after the same happiness factor. They're after just living their life and enjoying the things that they want to enjoy. And yeah, I love it.
Yes. And unfortunately, there's a bunch of people in charge that are trying to stop us, but that's a different story.
That's a different podcast for
but it's interesting you said it, because I thank you for saying it. Like, it did the same for me. I mean, over the last 14 months, I've now spent 60 something days in Japan over 2 trips. Wow. Yeah. And it changed the way I think about what I really want for myself. And it changed what I really think makes me happy as a day-to-day, just living. Yeah. And unfortunately, I can't find all of that here, but I can go back there as often as I want.
Yeah, for sure. I felt that way about China when I went to Africa. I felt that way in Africa. That was a profound experience to be around people that had absolutely nothing and still bent over backwards to try to give you what they thought that you would need as hosts. And to see that to see what people would go through to help out a stranger when they have hardly anything is like it's a profound experience. And then living in Portugal for 2 years, we moved the family and we did that. So each one of these things are like huge they're just huge turning points mentally and physically as you take in new stuff. You're like, this, it's a more than anything else. Those are my favorite things to do. So,
and in, in religion, but even in like psychology, like people do mention to, take stock often of what you have and what you maybe don't have and what you want, and kind of keep that in perspective. Is that something that you're doing often in these different careers that you've had?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. So, whether people call it like stop and smell the roses or like take a beat and take it all in. I've learned that having gratitude for the things that have gone right and wrong, because you learn a lot from your failures and things that didn't work out. Now in the moment it sucks, but afterwards you can take away the lessons and take away the other stuff. And that's where, like the gratitude comes in, where you're like, it's a really fortunate world to live in. And also just the fact that we're in a place where my kids don't die in a covered wagon as I go across the country, and I can fly to Japan, and I don't have to sit in a boat for 3 months to get there. And I have no idea if there's going to be anybody on the other side of civilization. I have a working toilet in the other room that I've got hot water. That's only been in the last like 60, 70 years. There's so many things, like this stupid computer that makes everything easier to talk to you, Dave. This would be a boring podcast if we just had to write a letter and I had to wait 5 weeks for get a response.
And then I transcribed it all with my voice.
Yeah, it would be such a boring podcast. But here we are in this crazy life that is so fortunate, and also to be living in a first world country that it's a crazy. So there's a lot of bad things, but I always try to temper it with, there's a lot of amazing things too. So you try to change the things that you can, help out where you can, and then also just be grateful with the opportunities that we have in the day and age that we live in. So it's a balance, right?
It is. Life is a balance until, you're no longer there. And then nobody knows what it is.
And then you don't have any more worries.
That's true.
I'm banking on,
or you could be a floating head.
I could be a floating head. Or worst case scenario is you just got to make sure you're in line behind the right person. It's like, my wife is a better person. I don't want to be in line behind her. I'm going to choose somebody who's like, ooh, that guy looks kind of sketchy. I want to be behind him, because then if you're, it's all
right. It's a balance, like you said.
It's a balance. Yeah, exactly.
But in the world of Dork, we still don't know exactly 100% why, but when certain people or creatures die, they don't move on. They become a floating, hilarious head.
Yes, that is true. They do become just part of the story. Yeah, that character, and I would say that character came before any other character.
Really?
I was just trying to make my wife laugh. That was it. I read a story about a real chicken in like the 30s or something like that got his head cut off, and it kept living because they cauterized the wound with the axe. That chicken lived like almost a year, and they took that chicken to like carnivals and made money off that chicken. It was the headless chicken.
That's got to be where the phrase comes from.
Yeah. And they would put a little bird feed in there, and it would sort of just stay alive. And the only reason it died is because I think one of the farm hands accidentally sat on the headless chicken when it was on a chair, and that's how it ended up dying. So, but it lived for years. And I read that. I was like, oh, that's funny. Oh, I'm gonna go make this joke panel, and I drew it really fast, and I showed it to oh, that's funny. And I showed my best friend, and he's like, that's good. Headless chicken. I was like, all right. I got something. I don't know where he's gonna fit in the scheme of what I make for myself. And then once I said the medieval setting and Dork, then it was like, oh, I'm now I've got the sidekick. I've got my second character. So. Yeah.
That's, and like I said, that's probably where the phrase came off, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, meaning that this chicken actually ran around for a while, not just for 5 seconds.
Yeah. I do believe that they do have, it's kind of like a snake. It's the bad part of like life. It's like the body still recoils and thinks it knows as its nervous system. Anyway, I don't want to get too, but that chicken, that was the impressive thing, is that chicken had a good, healthy 1 year life after it was supposed to be dinner.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Did you ever do any like publish cartoon strips? Like you saying that makes me think that you would have been good doing like a weekly strip or something like that. Did you ever explore anything like that?
I did. I explored it a little bit just personally. I had a couple things. I had one that was a slice of life, and it was more of like raising my crazy child.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like about a week of it, and the format of my stories wanted to be longer. In the same way that I can't even put myself in the same sentence as him. So
Do it.
I can't, but I will. But let's change subjects to one of the most brilliant people, Bill Watterson. When Bill Watterson would do his like 3 strips, and then he was like, I want to tell a bigger story with his Sunday ones, and you got to see like 11 to 12 strips, and he had a bigger story to tell. He was brilliant at that, but I knew that I could never be as brilliant as that. So I like after a week, I was like, this is a lot of work, and to do this daily, I don't know if I want to think in this format, in this faster chunk format. Also, in the same way that people are kind of dealing with AI and what's to come next, is the same way newspapers were dying when I was thinking about what am I going to do?
Sure.
And then when I was thinking of the strips, I was like, oh, do I want to start down this path as I see this path changing? And I don't know if I'm ready to put that energy output into finding what that is going to be next. I'd rather channel it in TV and film. And so I went more in that direction, and then went back to comics going, no, screw it. I'm going to lose money and go work in comics. We were just talking about on the walk. My wife and I go on a walk. She's like, I remember big pivotal moments. And one of them was we were on a walk and you said, honey, can I quit my animation, TV, video game jobs and make less money and be happier making comics? And I remember that conversation, and it was a tough one. And then we decided to jump in, and it worked. But yeah, you have those like come into head moments where you're just like, all right, are we jumping or are we not? So
I did that jump almost 5 years ago, leaving the working world to sell comics for a living and do now do 2 channels. And I don't know, I haven't looked back. I haven't regretted a single thing, nor do I ever see myself working for somebody again.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I think all of that, I think if you're a dreamer, I think you struggle with the decision all the way up to the decision. But once you jump, then you're like, I've made the decision, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Right. But I remember that hemming and hawing up to that decision, because there's also decisions I decided not to make, right? Or it wasn't the right time, or you weren't focused enough to say like, now's the time, right? But then once you jump, you're like, all right, decision's made. We're in, baby.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna know. You are now swimming, and there's a boat, you can get in it and you can row it, but nobody's gonna push it. Nobody's gonna give you a motor. But once you do it, like you said, you're like, all right, cool, let's go.
Yeah. Figure it out as you go. Right.
Yeah.
And then you can stumble, you can screw up, you can bleed a little, no worries. And you'll find your way to the right answer as you go. But yeah, getting up to that leap, it's the same thing as like Portugal and everything. When you decide to move 4 people overseas, you hem and haw all the way up to the point, and you're like, all right, we have the visas, we're going. There's no other decision that you have. You start selling your stuff, and like, I've made a bunch of mistakes I wouldn't make again in that move, but you do all that stuff because it's all a learning process. And you're like, great, if I learn from this one, I'll just figure out the next one, and I'll jump off of that cliff and hopefully not die on a bunch of bamboo spikes.
Well, and that's like a great way to think about it too. And you're right, you move the family. So if you ever do it again, you're a veteran. You've done it. You know the way to. I mean, like I've moved so many goddamn times too. And it's like New York to Seattle to Portland to back. Anyway, and it's like after a while, you know exactly the shortcuts to take to make that process smoother.
Yes,
whatever
and
you can
know
control.
What made you happy in each of those locations and why you should be moving this time. Instead of just moving to find out, going, I don't know, let's go find out, or it's for this job, or it's for this thing. You can start to pinpoint of like, these are the things that are going to make me happy. This is the reason why I'm going to move. I have more investment into why I'm making these decisions. And that just comes with time and ability to do it. So. And
when you were moving back to Portugal, you took on writing a kid's book, right? Is that the lore?
So I did I did those books right before I left. I hit Fairyland while I was in Portugal. So
Okay.
I signed the last San Diego Comic-Con was when I pitched to Penguin Random House my kids book series. And it was going to be 2 books, and then 2 became 4. But I had to do the entire book from start to scratch in 6 months. So during the pandemic, every 6 months was a 80-page graphic novel from beginning to end. It was gruesome, and that was the same time I was making Crash Bandicoot 4 as well. So it was all like after hours kind of stuff. So it was handling a lot, but it also kept my mind busy because everything else was not keeping my mind busy. So I was very fortunate to have those things in place. But it all kind of stunk because you couldn't promote it. There was no going out to Barnes and Noble. There was no telling people, go get this book. There's like, yeah, nobody's anywhere. Nobody's doing anything. So it was a very hard time for everybody involved. But to be a new kids book author and debuting in the pandemic is not the best way to debut. No. So I even was in Free Comic Book Day, and we were so excited. And that was the only Free Comic Book Day that got canceled. Was the only one I was a part of. And I was like, finally, the thing that I remember doing as a kid and loving, and I was going to be a part of it. Whap, whap, whap. So what happens? You dust yourself off and you just go, all right, that's life. Got kicked in the junk. Stand back up.
I mean, maybe maybe another benefit, or, like, I don't know a ripple effect of Dork popping off is, I tell people all the time how I work, and I hope other people do, is like, I want to go back and look at this creator that I'm now familiar with and see what he did in the past. I mean, Fairyland obviously is something that anybody that's a comics fan can go back and look at. And most people are familiar with that book because Scotty is Scotty. Yeah. But the kids' books, I mean, is something that anybody who has a family, kids can be like, oh, I love this Dork book. Let me see if my kids love these kids' books that he did. So
yeah. That was I wrote them for my kids. I wrote them to be, a gateway, the nice way of saying gateway drug into, what else I do and what comics are and what they can be. So hopefully they're just smart enough to where kids can get them. And then there's the secondary meeting when they either read it as an older child or read it to their kids, or a parent reads it. That, between the 2 series, between Zoo Patrol Squad and Muck and Honey, that hopefully, and that's a bridge book. That's one that's supposed to get kids from picture books into chapter books. So if the kids have a harder time bridging that gap between full paragraphs and sentences, it's a bridge book. Muck and Honey is the one. And again, I said yes because I'm like, oh, that's a challenge I haven't done before. Let's go see if I can do that. So I did the kids graphic novels, 4 books, and then this bridge book series, which I think the book 2 just came out as well. And that's an interesting challenge for myself. And I go, oh, great. This is the more of the kids space. And hopefully parents will read it and go, oh, I get the humor. And he's just turning it into an all ages humor. Right. Yeah. And hopefully that's what it is. And I did that in an improv class when the improv teachers would tell you and go like, oh yeah, you can, if you're good at humor, you can aim it appropriately, just depending on who the audience is and then how to cater to that, in the same way that my life is like when I'm around the religious people I know who can't take a swear word, or I can't talk about Jeebus and all that kind of stuff. I cater the jokes a little bit to that because the last thing I want to do is make them upset. Sure. The whole point is not to make people upset and go, my comedy is about me. Because it's not about me. If I'm trying to entertain you, or at least trying to be a part of your life, my job is to make you happier. Not always about me. And so if you can cater it back and forth to like, okay, these jokes are for these, and then the other people get the real version of Brett and they get the dirtier jokes and they get the Ink Pulp guys get the full Brett Bean experience compared to,
well, you're also dealing with like on Ink Pulp, you've got, 3 monkeys literally throwing shit all over the place.
in different ways. Yeah. One's a bottom, one's a top, one's on the sides, and you're getting, there's feces everywhere in this room.
We'll get right back to the interview. I just want to let you know I have another YouTube channel, West Coast Avengers. It's most likely how you found this podcast, but if you haven't, go over there and subscribe. You can find the link in the description below. I have a Patreon, $5 a month. Help you support this channel as well as West Coast Avengers. Gets you 3 bonus videos a month. Plus, every 2 months, there's a great exclusive sale on stuff for the Patreon. You can help this video by hitting the like button and dropping a comment down below once you're done watching the interview. So why don't we get back to it?
There's a little bit for everybody. So.
I've had, I wouldn't say in a negative way, but I've had my fill of them. I had in the last month and a half, I had Mateo on, Eric on, then Mateo and Sean on, and then we were all hanging out together at OAX in Orlando, and it was like, I love these guys so much, but yeah, there's just, my maturity level goes way, and I love it. Yeah. I love it, yeah. But then
it's
I have to
it's one of those couple of friends, right?
Yeah.
It's when you're with them, and then you can kind of almost take yourself out of it and going like, oh, I'm reverting right back to my 13. It's like my siblings. I got an older brother and a sister, and I got a ping pong table for the kids, right? I had to sell it when I moved to Portugal, but
sure.
We had a ping pong table for the kids, and then my siblings came over, and my dad showed up, and he's like, oh, I want you guys to play each other. And then I saw them get into this mode, like they were 14 and 13 years old again. And my dad was manipulating these 60-year-old people and saying, oh, no, you're going to let her do that. And then she'd get all serious. Like, I've never experienced seeing it from not my own angle, but going, this is what you guys used to do. Dad would sit there and manipulate his little puppets as they danced for him. And like, you're 65. Why are you letting this old man do this to you? And it's fascinating that you can go into this headspace and go, I'm right back to it. This is not who I am, but I am with these people. To me, it's awesome that you can snap back and forth and go, oh, this is my true self in this age range. And I have those friends too that I still do it with.
Yeah. Yeah. And we made some jokes that, I redacted one from one of the episodes, but I did it like with the black bar across it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the people I grew up with. Like, I grew up in New York, Long Island, and the way that we communicated, because it truly is the melting pot that everybody says it is by like, just, like making, like poking at each other in a friendly way, but in a way that if you did it in 2026, oh, you'd be labeled something that you're not. Because, there's no hatred involved in it. It's poking your friends. It's ribbing each other.
I would agree with that. And I think the problem is because we're Gen X and you're born before the internet and camera phones, those moments come and go like that. And it's over and you're moving on. But now that everything is recorded and everybody's watching and everybody's kind of waiting for each other to screw up, everybody who has to live in that has to live in a completely different way that I can't conceive of, because I've said so many stupid things in high school, middle school, mistakes in college that you'd say something and even it comes out and you go, that didn't taste right. Yeah. Why did I say that? It was to make somebody funny, but I said it wrong. You know what I mean? And you think about it and you ruminate and you go, oh, I'm not going to do that again. I've learned my lesson. But when everybody else is trying to teach you that lesson, it's defensive and it's not right because everybody is going to screw up. So it's a very hard, odd thing that I haven't figured out or even know how to help my sons navigate yet, that I know is coming for them, that I don't know necessarily how to do because, again, born without it, I go, oh my God, it would be so much easier to make those mistakes and know that they were mistakes and humans are fallible and then it's over with. It's when somebody repeats them, makes money with them, or continues after knowing that it's hurtful or it's wrong or something like that. Then you can say, okay, now we can pause. Now we can say like, okay, it's really tough. And we would rib each other and we'd give each other a bad time. And now we just kind of joke online going like, I'd be canceled today. And it's like, it's tough. It's a tough environment. And I feel mostly for the people that are born into it because they don't know that luxury that we got.
Yeah, it was a luxury. And we're all going to fuck up. We're all going to fuck up.
On a regular basis, I still fuck up.
But to have it be weaponized against us or against a person, it's a different story. I always kind of equate it like the people in charge the people in charge, and we go all the way to the top, when they say something, it actually has an effect. If I am talking to one of my friends and I rib them and somebody else hears it and gets offended, that's not really affecting the world. It's not affecting people's livelihoods. It's not affecting anything other than the people involved, and I can apologize.
Right.
But the problem is the lessons are now being shown by the worst people that have the biggest voice. And
for sure,
but
this is coming from two privileged white people.
Yeah.
Two white male privileges. So if we're having a hard time, I can't imagine anybody. I hate the word minority because it sets up a bar between. So whatever it is, we use the word now, but anybody who's, African-American, women, anybody else has a whole extra set of problems and layers that they can talk about and can't, and go, welcome to the club, dipshit.
Yeah,
and they're
exactly.
like, I'm sorry I'm late to the party. I'm trying to understand everything. So I can't even imagine what everybody, all these other groups have had to endure and figure out and go, yeah, I can't get upset about that. I can't talk about that. I can't say. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm just starting to now understand how much bigger it is, and so many more people as I sit there and talk about it from my very privileged status. So yeah, it sucks for everybody. I'm just starting to realize that it sucks for other people for a lot longer and a lot deeper of a well.
Yeah. Cue John McClane yelling out the window to Al Powell, "Welcome to the party, pal."
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
And then I'm aware of it and I've been aware of it, but you're right. There's a lot of privilege, but what I can at least hope to do with creating this and having a podcast like this is to make sure that the stuff I'm putting out brightens people's days. And somebody can listen to us having this conversation and be like, yeah, this is an hour of me not thinking about the horrible stuff and listening to two people talk about art and life and all of those things in between. And I hope when people hear you talk about creating Dork, they realize yeah, you're just on the sidelines doing this thing, and whatever's happening on the internet about the book, on whatnot, in the comic stores, you have no control over it. And I really do think though, and I really do think that people that open this book, that look at what's going on and read it, are really going to enjoy it.
I hope so. I mean, that's the point is, there are trends that people try to follow, and they try to follow the puck wherever it's going to go. And then there are things that you can do and say, well, I want to make a book that I want to see on the shelf. I want to make a book that feels a little bit more authentically towards the creator. Well, let's go try it. Right. And then, if only 5 people go along for the ride, 5 people go along for the ride. I'm just ecstatic that more people go along. But at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. I remember moving to LA, and I had a montage on my mirror, and it said, try to prove nice guys don't finish last. Mm-hmm. Because I know so many people that changed once they moved to Hollywood, once they get into that sort of networky sort of thing. And I go, don't be that person. Just remain who you are. And then no matter what, you can put your head down on the pillow at night and feel okay with yourself no matter what happens. And so you're trying to leave the world better than how you found it, right? And my way is doing it through my stories and Dork, and my any artwork that I try to make now is trying to make somebody smile or go, ooh, cool, in some way. Some people, it's not going to work because it's subjective, right? You can't make everybody happy. But that's what I think most people are doing. Most creatives I know are trying to balance out being able to feed their family and do the thing that they love, but also make something cool. And it's yeah, go out there and try to do it.
Yeah. And you're doing it. I mean, you think about when you just said about the artwork and smiling. I mean, when I got my Darth Jar Jar back, and when I approached you, you were like, what? It's kind of what? And that's usually the response I get. I have probably close to 20 Darth Jar Jar commissions, but I got it back and I'm like, boom. This is the funniest thing, and it's one of the funniest ones that I've gotten back so far.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I wish I wasn't jet lagged when you asked. Part of my what is always I'm still one day off in my entire being. So yeah.
Well, hopefully, I mean, if they ask you to come back, I'll be back for Tokyo Comic Con this year and maybe even 2
Oh,
trips to Japan this year.
oh, that's
Um,
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. What, I wanted to ask and I know, friends with enough cartoonists to know that they stay away from the secondary stuff, but is there anything that you've seen come out of it that you're like, oh, this is actually cool? Like somebody making a post about it or just the way they're talking about the book. Is there anything, that from the blowing up of this book that has just kind of made you smile? Cause I know most cartoonists don't give a shit about the secondary market, which they
Um,
shouldn't.
I would say two things make me smile. The one that makes me smile from a creative point of view is how many people have done their own variants
Hmm.
and done new artwork with my character is such a boost of one confidence, and also awesome to see all these other creative people being creative with something that I made is not something that you imagine is going to happen.
Right.
So I think seeing all of that as people come out is like, hey, I want to do, you're doing a new printing. I want to do this book with this artist and this thing. And you're like, that's amazing. You want to spend your time and energy on my thing is really cool to see.
Yeah.
On the speculator side, I am a iconoclast anti-hero. I'm the Han Solo guy. So anytime I can see some of these people get their panties in a bunch, as well as all of my comic book friends who said that fantasy doesn't sell, cartoon stuff doesn't sell. This is only one person sells in the cartoon space. Um, it's not going to work out. And to be able to throw a monkey wrench in all of that and have each one of them go, "You broke comics. I don't know how you did it. You know, f you. How did you do it?" There's a little piece of who I am as an
Yeah.
individual inside that goes, that makes me feel good inside.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a trade off. There's the creator side that makes me feel good, and then the little bit of like it should be broken. Everything should be broken a little bit, and let us find out what it is as we bring in new people, as we expand what's possible in comics and the cultivation of books and comics and all these things. Let it be broken a little bit. Let us find a new path forward, because I think that's healthy growth. I think
Hmm.
trying to keep it the same is not the healthy way of going about doing it. So if I can be a part of that, I'm not saying I am, but if
Right.
I can be a part of that, that's something special just for Brett. That's like an inner
Sure.
like, ooh, that would be cool to say. Ooh, yeah. So we'll see if it happens. But a monkey wrench in the system is always good.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's what I feel like has happened in the last year and change of comics, and why people are reporting, why comic shop owners and the publishers are reporting bigger sales. Uh, what you're doing is bringing, like you said, a style of animation with the fantasy in where there's not a ton. And what I look at, like something like the Absolute Universe, is bringing in that manga sense storytelling just a bit,
Mhm.
enough to give people something that they're looking at that's different. That's a different kind of thing, and that always has a positive effect.
For sure. Yeah. And and I talk to a lot of people, and the Absolute series is a really interesting thing because it's the gateway into all of it
Hmm.
from last year. And it's a good starting point where everybody comes in, they see Batman number 500, and you're like, well, I'm not going to start there. But
Right.
with this Absolute, almost like a reboot, and all the artwork and all the writers and all the artists are like hitting at the top level of all of it, it like hits at the right spot for everybody to get into and go, oh, this is really compelling stuff. And I'm at the beginning of it. Like you can still
Hmm.
get the first couple of graphic novels and not feel like you're so far behind to understand it's got pieces of Batman, but it's not really the Batman you know. It's this
Yeah,
whole other thing. So yeah, I think it's very exciting for comics
it
and all
is.
these new series and stuff too. So yeah,
And I'll harp about it again, but I think we're all craving something creative to digest as fans, to take our minds off of everything, just literally everything.
yeah, it's a giant shit sandwich we all got to take a bite of, and at least these little things like this, these monthly hits, and they're relatively. I still contend that books and comic books are, you can still get entertainment for under the price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
is still the most value for escapism, compared to anything else. So I think
Hmm.
between those two things, I think it's a healthy dose of getting out there and going, yes, I can think about the real world, and I can also be taken away from it as well and enjoy an interesting story and an interesting take. And I think comics and books do that still to this day. So
Yeah. I like to ask my guests whether this goes anywhere or not, but any music that inspires you or anything that
oh
you, you
gosh.
know, draw to. I know writing is usually a solitary, like quiet process for most writing, but drawing or anything like that, is there any music that kind of continues to inspire you or anything that you would say, hey, put this on while you're reading Dork?
Oh man. I usually I have a dork playlist, and it's all like scores to movies. So it'll
Hmm.
have like Northman, it'll have Dragon Slayer, it'll have Conan, Krull, it'll have Last Starfighter. It'll be all the things that remind me of what I want the feeling to be for the person reading, right?
Yeah.
So it's not trying to redo it all and go, here's my regurgitated version. It's trying to remember the feeling I had when I got and saw all those escapism films and go, how do I make my escapism? And so I put on a lot of that music in the background to remind me of it and to keep myself youthful in that way.
Hmm.
I still listen to Tom Waits is still up there whenever I feel like in a funky mood and I need to break myself out of it. I still listen to Tori Amos. I still listen to a lot of stuff, or I just listen to lo-fi stuff on Sirius XM. And I try to be open. I used to manage a record store in
Oh,
Seattle,
oh, what
and
store?
Silver Platters. I was an assistant
Yeah, I
manager
know
at Silver
Silver
Platters.
Platters.
Yeah. So I used to work in there, and I would have a lot of just music I would listen to, and I was always in charge of folk, women in rock, and so
Hmm.
everybody had a section, and those were my sections. So when people came in saying, "Oh, I like, Lilith Fair," and I go, "Great, here, let's go check out some old Indigo Girls. Let's go listen to Liz Fair. Let's go back to all of these old groups." I still listen to all that kind of stuff. Like right now, uh, what am I listening to right now? Besides getting on my computer and like finding out, dang it, I'm going to remember all of these groups
Yeah,
as
after we're
soon as
done.
yes, Phoebe, man, the one
Phoebe
with
Bridgers?
yeah, but the group that they were in,
Boy Genius.
Boy Genius. I
So
listened
good.
to, I listened to that stuff, and I saw her. So she used to play at the Pasadena Farmers Market,
That's right.
and I used to go by and listen to her, and put $1 in the guitar bin as I got my hummus and chips for the week, um,
Amazing.
and to see her grow and expand. And her mom used to work for my brother. He's a theater director, and she used to work for my brother. So I met that whole family, and that's how I knew. And then the mom said like, "Oh, my daughter she's starting to play music down here." And so I would go down, and then all of a sudden she becomes this huge thing. And Boy Genius is great, and I love their music. And I listen to that all the time because it's refreshing and different, and it's a
Hmm.
different take on life in general that I don't understand and see. So I like to take that stuff in so I
Three
can
unique
understand a little bit more.
voices.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so. Yeah,
Yeah. I saw Julian Baker two times at Vera Project in Seattle.
nice.
And Phoebe, I was a mail carrier during the pandemic in Magnolia in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
And Punisher came out during that. And I mean, without being hyperbolic, like that album really saved me. Like it helped me I would listen to it every morning as I got out on the street, even during the massive wildfire smoke, like the rain, whatever it was. And that album really holds a special place for me. So
Oh,
that's
for
cool
sure.
it's cool that you saw her when she was just a kid busking.
Yeah, just like everybody else. And then it reminded me the first time I did a convention at a zoo, and I had 0 customers for 2 days, and it was the worst, most
Mm,
humbling, crappy experience. And all I can remember is when you see other people go like, "Yeah, this is my farmer's market. This is
yeah.
my like nobody's really going to pay attention to you, and you're just trying to do your thing, and you just accept it for what it is and move on with your life." And yeah, not saying that the farmer market is bad, but
Yeah.
it's not like playing stadiums and winning Grammys. Everyone
Um,
starts and they kind of have to go through it, right?
I'm pretty sure Brandy Carlisle got her start like she was busking at Pike Place, when she was younger. So you got to start somewhere, right? And unless you're coming from, unless you're Michael Jackson coming from the Jackson 5, like nobody's going to show up when you come out with your art, with your creations until they start showing up. And if that happens, then you just keep, like you said, you got to keep being yourself, and you can't really be upset at anybody when yourself is doing what the thing is that you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. So side note, one of my buddies, I was trying to say something, I don't understand what's happened to me. Like, I don't understand Dork. I don't understand the, people liking it. And I'm just trying to do my thing. And it was very poignant for at the time. He's like, Brett, I've known you for most of your life. You're the hardest working person I've ever seen. You've paid your dues. Nobody sees you paying your dues. This is getting your dues back.
Yeah.
This is like, nobody saw the last 20 years and you busting your butt all the time, every single night, but you work harder than anybody else. So just take it. Just take it. And that's a hard thing for me to take, because I'm used to the other side, just busting myself out. But it was very nice to hear it at the right time. I don't think he even knows how impactful that was for me, because even now it's like I'm ready to cry and I'm not. But that was one of those moments where, like, I needed that at the right time from the right person. And that was that moment where it felt so much imposter syndrome. And how come I get to win and so many other people who work just as hard are losing? How come they don't get to win either? It's a shitty feeling to hold on to, where it's like, I found success, but all these people work just as hard. How come it didn't land for them? But it's hard. It's hard when you want everybody to succeed.
Yeah. And I know from talking to friends, like, you have a lot of people in your corner in the, comics world, and people that you've worked alongside with for years. So, I mean, yeah, take your flowers. Don't let it be anything other than your hard work that you're taking them for. And, like, look, 2 issues in, and I can say, I know that there's a long way to go with this book, and there's a lot of life to it. So I'm happy for you. I really am. I think it's awesome. Yeah. So, before we get going though, any other appearances? You got MegaCon coming up. What, like MegaCon, 2.5, 3 weeks? Yeah.
2.5 weeks, I think, for that. C2E2 is right after that. I think we are go. Terrificon put my face up on on their Instagram. So I think that one's a go. I think we're negotiating Heroes Con right now. And I think I'm working on Big O, I think, is their 10-year anniversary, Omaha, Nebraska one. We're working on that one. And then Calgary as well. So I will be at Calgary as well. So I'm going to do one of the Canada ones. I'd like to do all of them, but at the same time, it's like I've got 2 full-time books I got to get out, and those are probably most important. And I don't want to get stuck in that trap where people start doing conventions, covers, and commissions. And then they're like, and then you start screwing up the thing that made people want to get into your book anyway. So the book is first. And I got that advice both from Eric Stevenson at Image and from Robert Kirkman. He's like, just get the book out. Just get the book out. That's the important part. I was like, you're right. I was like, don't miss that. That's the thing. And also the thing that makes me happiest too is, like, making the work and making the book is very special to me. When I get the issues and I get to open them up and I go, it's my comic. It's in my hand. It's like it's like, I didn't think that was going to happen. So it's a really nice opportunity. So,
yeah. And you can, people can also support you by going to brettbean.com. You have original art there. You have books for sale. That kind of stuff really makes a difference, when you're buying directly from the creator.
For sure. Yeah, that does help. I just had an art drop, and we're going to continue to do it. And then we're going to try to do Dork Days on Instagram, do a live video, maybe do a draw over and answer questions on the days that the comic book comes out. So I think we're going to try to do that tomorrow morning on Instagram as well. So
awesome.
We're going to try to do that just as a give back and say, like, hey, you have questions about it, or let's kind of peruse the issue and see what people say. So,
and you do live streams where you're bagging and boarding books, just talking to people. So that's always a fun way to just have a good time to pass that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm always surprised that many people hop on and ask questions and stuff. So it's like, this time my wife is going to be doing it so she can field the questions as I draw, because I cannot possibly draw and look at the screen at the same time. My little brain can't do it.
Yeah, so, it's a lot of work. And then Dungeon Crawler Carl's set to release in the fall? Or is that out?
I think you're going to be looking at probably winter time on that.
Winter.
So we've got the schedule out. For myself, for the internal, I'm going to try to bust out as much as I can when I can. But I would say fall to winter is when our schedule is kind of like lining up correctly with Vault Comics. So
cool.
yeah.
And by the time this airs, the second issue will have already been out. So you're going to be looking for the third issue. And like I said, 250 people need to line up at this man's table at the next con just to make sure that he's proven wrong by a lot.
Oh, man. Right. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll owe you a Coke.
Fair enough. Well, Brett, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations once again. Dork is awesome.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time as well.
Thanks for watching, everybody. And thank you to Brett for his time. I really hope he has continued success on this book. And I know I'll be there every Wednesday that it comes out, every month. If you're going to MegaCon, if you're going to C2E2, get online to get Brett to sign the book or buy a piece of art from him. And then, when you meet him, say, Direct Edition Dave told me that I needed to come here. I needed to get your autograph in, and I needed there to be 250 people online. I think he's in for a really nice, pleasant surprise. I think the reception at these cons is going to be very warm. I think anybody who's reading this book is really enjoying it. So if you haven't, don't forget to tell your LCS, like, oh, can you order me the 4th print, the 5th print, the 1st print, the 2nd print, whatever you can get. It doesn't matter what printing it is. You need to read the book. If you read, I kiss you. For me, if you could hit the like button, subscribe, comment, any engagement from you, my listener, really does help grow this podcast. I know I keep saying it. If you're on Apple, just leave one of those 4 or 5, 10-star reviews. 77, 69 stars. If you're on Spotify, you can do the same thing. You don't have to type up a review. It just helps if you do. It helps. All right, this has gotten way goofy enough. I have a Patreon. $5 a month. That gets you a couple of bonus videos. It gets you a private sale every 2 months of stuff that is not for sale at my regular claim sales on West Coast Avengers. And you help support the channel. And come on, for less than $10, you can buy this book every month and you could subscribe to my Patreon. It's $8.99 plus, tax on the book. I don't charge you tax for Patreon. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you to Brett. Dave, D'_AVE out. I'm like a dork. Shut up, Dave.